Welcome, everybody, to Generation Dan, the only podcast where, wow, Dino, that was the title you picked for this stream? That was kind of a lot.
Listen, it's only fair. It's only fair.
Okay.
I've already
Dino, the genetic marvel.
I know people
Gen
won't
Xer.
like me anyways, so it's okay. But that's what we went with.
And that's Julia Austin, our guest. I'm Atlas Novack. I'm a millennial.
I'm the old person here. That's fine. Yeah, I use that just because. So my wife gets mad, and I've had other people when they hear me swear around children, and I just look at them. I'm like, I was swearing at the children. It's not. I don't really swear.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't really. Kids, I listen. There's only. It's only fair that you learn early on. There are some things you're not allowed to say as a kid. You're not allowed to swear. Best of luck. When you're an adult, you can swear as much as you want. It's a wonderful advantage. Yeah, and if you're 6'2" and 300 pounds, you can swear whenever you like. It doesn't matter your age. Nobody's going to say shit to you. I like it. It's nice.
Okay,
I don't tell my students that like there's a time and a place for everything, and it's called college. Like, just do it that.
That's it. Nothing after that. Also, I don't know anything about your podcast. Is there a format we're following? Like, I don't want to. I get self-conscious about interrupting and messing up the flow, or is it just like free fall? Because also there's been times when I've waited thinking I was going to get asked a question and then I was too quiet. So just let me know what you need from me.
No, well, so we usually try and start with a theme, and we do our best to keep things relevant to that. It usually lasts about 5 to 15 minutes, and then after that it's a free-for-all because we all have some degree of ADHD or something. Let's be honest, we all have microplastics in our brain at this point. It's fine. It's we're going with the flow, and yeah, that's about it.
So the idea here was you are a content creator who does a lot about the child-free lifestyle. Yes. I thought that would be kind of interesting because I'm not that anymore, and Dino is.
What? You have a kid?
No. I mean, like, Katie and I are like 4 kids, and I used to be child-free.
I thought you were
philosophically. Don't have a kid.
Didn't mention that. You're like married, dog. That's it. All the
yeah, that's it. The end.
I love it. Jim's out here. Good afternoon. I curse at buses full of kids. That's fair. That's
there you go, Jim.
Yeah.
You guys want to have kids? Gotcha.
Mm.
I mean,
and like I used to not be like that for a long time.
Yeah. There's a certain degree of weirdness though, because some people like, look, Victoria and I, we still want kids. We don't have kids, but that's just been life. But I'm like, but that doesn't mean I want your kids. Your kids seem like dicks. I'm not interested in that, right? And that's like this weird thing where people are like, oh, if you have children, you have to love all children. I'm like, no, your children are assholes because you're a bad parent, right? So just
aren't you an uncle, Dino?
I am an uncle. And you know what? Listen. Kids appreciate being included and treated like adults. It makes them feel important, and it makes them not feel useless. And I will immediately hold them accountable to whatever it is, and then I pick them up by their overalls and just look at them and be like, I will eat you. Just, don't do that. And they're like, okay, yeah, it's fine.
I actually don't remember how I was spoken to as a kid or what I preferred, to be honest. I don't really. Oh, I think that's just because we spent all of our time with our nanny who spoke Spanish for the most part. So that.
Okay, I love the idea of just being like, I don't know what this large woman is saying to me, but it sounds angry.
That seems accurate. Yeah, no, that's fair.
Are you an older or younger sibling, Julia?
Younger, not by a lot though, just by like 2 years or 3 years, depending on the time of year.
Mm. I mean, I'm the youngest of 5, and like there's my oldest sibling is 12 years older than I am, and there's a big gap in between. So there's like 2 separate groups, and I'm like, yeah, I was the baby. I'm still the baby of the family. I still dwarf everyone internationally in my family. Every Bletsis in the world, I'm the biggest one. So.
And then the nanny is speaking Spanish too, and you're like, wow, this tiny woman, I can't understand what she's saying, but it sounds angry.
I just assume she's Greek. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
We wound up learning Spanish, so that was useful.
That is useful.
That was good.
So yeah, I asked that question because like when you're the youngest, I feel like you want to be treated older, because something about being born last feels like a new character on a sitcom in like season 5. You're like, all the inside jokes are already figured out. And I need like meaning or something. I'm a younger sibling too. That's at least how I felt growing up.
I just know that I wanted to be friends with my sister so much, and she hated me so much. Now we're like, we're best friends now, but
good.
But growing up, I think, she found me annoying, and I wanted to hang out with her and her friends so badly, and she would just lock me out of the room, and I wanted to participate.
It builds character. Come on, that's exactly what siblings are supposed to do. Like,
she locked me in her room until I cleaned it. That's what she did to me.
Wait.
Also, children, free labor makes complete sense.
Your first instinct wasn't to just like throw shit around. That would have been mine. Pump her. Oh my god.
Because I really wanted her to like me, so I did it. See, I have a small one too. She's
nice.
Small.
What's the name?
Hello, Victoria. Hello, Valerie.
This is Cookie. Yeah,
Cookie. So cute.
Oh man.
So you guys are you're gonna have kids, Atlas?
Yeah, probably.
Oh my gosh, are you trying right now? Like at this moment? Who's beneath you in the camera?
I plead the fifth on that one.
So cool.
But yeah, it's I used to be not into the idea of kids, and I think just as I've gotten older, and I think especially since I became a teacher, I'm like, wow, they don't all suck. Okay, yeah, that's so I could see myself doing it, and then like part of me is still afraid of like I'm going to be a terrible dad, and then my therapist was like, that's the sign you're going to be a good dad. I'm like, I guess that's just how it's supposed to work. If you don't want to do something, you're going to do better at it.
100%. That, or if you are self-critical, right? Like with anything, for example, even in the stand-up community, as you know, a lot of times the people who are like most egotistical do not think that they need any feedback at all. Everything is always the audience's fault. They're not very good, right? Because if you always think, well, I have no notes for myself. Like those people are always bad at whatever they do most of the time, you know?
Is that not a weird thing though? It's the same thing. Like people who want to be the leader should not be the leader. People who don't want to lead should definitely be the lead. Like it's this weird thing where someone's like, I'm afraid I'm going to screw up my kids. That person should be a parent. You're like, what? Can we not have somebody who's like, I want to be a parent and actually be a good parent? That's a weird thing.
There has to be at least one. Like,
have you seen the people who are like, I can't wait to be a parent? You're like, those kids are fucked. They are fucking weird. You know,
there's a variety. I know like my child-free content verges on, it seems like I always have negative things to say about it. But like, I have a couple of friends and they're just like the most amazing moms, but like they went into it very intentionally. You know what I mean? They have a lot of thoughts. They're intentional about it. It's shocking how many people are not intentional about it. Like they really couldn't tell you. It's very clear to me that my parents never had a conversation about like, what values would we like to instill in our children? Because they were wilding. I mean, they were just, I mean, they had such different values. I mean, their values could not have been more different. Shock and surprise, they didn't wind up together. And I'm just like, was anyone thinking about like anything 40 years ago at all before they had kids? Like,
and that's kind of true because like my parents were the same. I asked my mom like, what made you want to have kids? And I was mostly asking this when they were getting divorced, like why bother? And she was like, you know, we said we didn't want to have kids at first, and then one day I told your dad I went off my birth control, and then he said okay, and then I was pregnant with your sister. See, really? Yeah. That's it. Like.
I mean, that's the thing. You know, I just made a video like 2 days ago that is doing somewhat okay. And a lot of people are loving it. And some people think that I'm a cunt, as they often do, in which I said that we should interrogate people on why they are going to have kids as much as we interrogate people on why they're not. If anything, we should literally only interrogate the people who are. The people who are not, who cares? What does it matter? They're not taking it on. So it doesn't matter what their reasoning is. But the ones that are.
Yeah. Because it seems the default, right? Where like if you're not having kids, they're like, because that's the goal of any species on paper.
Right.
Is to, you know, propagate itself. But for the people who are having kids, if you do interrogate about them, there's a bit of a history in the US and it's called eugenics. And it's like, then it gets a little weird.
Oh, totally. I've been accused of promoting it because I brought up the fact that like, I actually don't remember what I said in the video, But I have had thoughts of how it's just so wild that like you need a license to drive. You need a license to own a gun. You need a certificate. You need a certificate for all these other responsibilities that are so much smaller than being in charge of like a person's development. And it's just like wild that we don't have to do just even like something like okay, to buy a house, you have to prove that you have enough reserves in your bank accounts to pay for like up to 5 years of incidentals or whatever it is, a couple years of mortgage payments if you lost your job. But you don't even have to prove that you have like 1 week's worth of money to feed a child, to have a child. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the weird thing is you're like, you can't, how do you police something like that when it's like, well, we police a lot of other things that are really inconsequential. Like you have to have a license to run a business.
Yeah.
You pay $30, you fill out a form and off it goes. You're going, so.
And it seems, but if you do that, then it becomes like a class thing where it's like.
Right. Well, and you can also have like some weird dystopian stuff of like who's deciding what the criteria is
also
for
true.
To have kids, and they can have itineraries. And there's a movie about it. Actually, I didn't see it yet, but there's a movie in which in the future people need to prove their worthiness to have kids to like unlock their fertility or like something. There's like tests they have to go through or whatever.
Sure.
Obviously, I actually think we should have to. We don't have an ethical way to do this at the time.
No, of course not. Yeah, like, yeah.
We're monsters.
I'm reading Brave New World with my sophomores right now. So like that like when we were trying to come up with a like theme for today, that was kind of bouncing around in my brain a little bit. Where it's like I guess it's better that than like let's put an egg in a test tube and then expose it to X-rays so it multiplies 96 times. And then you have, weird like.
Yeah.
Twins, 96 times twins.
Right.
That sounds like a nightmare. So Jim says people who understand people who understand the responsibility of rearing kids should have kids. I mean, shouldn't there be a course though? Like I feel like there's
they do have classes for that sort of thing, but they're voluntary, right? No one goes kind of like what you were saying earlier, Julia, where like the people who have the self-awareness to be like, maybe I should take classes on how to deal with colic or change a diaper or breastfeed or whatever the thing is. Like the people who have the self-awareness to do that do, and those that don't but really need to do it just don't.
I mean, and then you get into more like complicated stuff. Like I think I was saying, so I keep bringing up videos. I mean, I love these topics. I made a video about how a lot of parents are like, hey, don't worry, like the little years don't last that long. And then it gets easier. Like, and I'm like, the little years are actually not my concern. Like how to breastfeed, how to handle colic, all that. Those are just like skills that you can learn. You can just read about. When you're talking about like fostering someone's like emotional and psychological development in this world, that's where I think it gets complicated. I think the early years are physically tiring, literally because of the breastfeeding and you can't leave them alone, but they're not like psychologically complex to just like keep someone alive when they don't even understand a language yet. You know what I mean? It's later it gets really, that's where the big responsibility is to me, is making someone like a decent person in this world. You know what I mean?
And there's the like, as a teacher, right, where you see the results of parents who aren't fucking pulling their weight because you are your child's first teacher.
Right.
So it's not just like teaching them to not pee their pants. It's like, can you teach them to read and have a love of reading and to not be dicks to people? And like with great power comes great responsibility. I think that Spider-Man quote is super important for raising kids.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but this is the weird part about it all is that there's no people just are like whatever, and you're like no, that's not whatever, and like this whole idea where people are just like I'll figure it out. You're like you're homeless. You're not figuring shit out. I don't understand what is happening right here. Like there's a. And like you guys said, there's no ethical way to go about it. But at the same time, you're like, some people, you're like, oh, you should never procreate. Let's just right there. Like, I feel like that's a decision that should happen fairly early. And people be like, hey, listen, you are for the mines. You're not going to be living on a farm with a happy family. That's not, no, you're going to be down in a hole, making sure oil gets out. That's I don't.
Do criminals have take your kids to work? They do. It's called The Sopranos.
Hey,
so funny. No, but
That'd
you're
be
right.
great.
The whole when people say, "Oh, you'll figure it out," they say people have been figuring out for centuries, and I'm like, actually, a lot of them kind of haven't been. You know what I mean? There's a lot of children who would argue, like, "No, my parents didn't figure it out. I had a really fucked up child." There are people that comment on my videos saying, "My parents should not have had me." It's like not good situation.
The amount of people I know who are like, "I wish I wasn't here. My parents are crazy," and you're like, okay. I don't know how to interact with you anymore. You're like, oh, best of luck with that. I got to go over here.
I think, well, because it's a very intentional choice to not do the biological directive and be like, I am choosing to let my bloodline end with me.
Okay, but
to
the people who make that choice, it's not the right, like the people who are like, I need to have 19 kids. No, you don't. You definitely don't. It's a weird.
I think if we're putting in the work like Julia is to kind of destigmatize the idea of being child free, which is a very long process. Like this is going to take like decades or even centuries. The problem of like people who shouldn't be having kids but are having kids because it's just kind of implied that that's what you're supposed to do.
Sure.
If that becomes destigmatized to be like, I'm just not going to do it, it's fine. Then you'll have that as less of a problem.
Yeah, you're exactly. Yeah. Like obviously what I would love to do is create a world where no one has kids without giving so much like intentional thought to it.
Yeah. It's like an opt-in.
Right. That like might not be an option, but what you're saying is correct in the sense that as long as they don't feel like they have to, then you will have less that are doing it without giving it thought. And that would be probably good.
I even have a lower bar where it's like, I think people just have to have a conversation at some point, like just once, and be like, hey, should I have kids? Let me think about it. And just like, just go through the experiment and say, you know what? Maybe this isn't the right thing for me. And that's okay. And that's a reasonable thing. But people are just like, nope, just whatever happens, happens. And you're like, all right, sure. You know,
just gambling with human life. I remember someone commented on one of my videos yesterday. They were like, child-free isn't the brag you think it is. Child-free life is a zero stakes game. You can't brag unless you play the game. And I responded, it's very concerning that you see having kids as a game to be played.
100%.
Do you think this is a motherfucking game? It's not a game.
Well, this is, so I've been talking with, like, I talk with people about this kind of stuff all the time. And like, one of the things I explain to them, I'm like, so if you want to be single, life is going to be hard. If you want to be married, life is going to be hard. If you want to have kids, life is going to be hard. You want to not have kids, life is going to be hard. Like, you just have to pick which hard, because all of them have their challenges. They're different in many ways, but like not having kids is also, it's a hard thing to go through. Having kids, still a fucking nightmare. Like I have a friend who had 3 kids and I was like, hey, how's it going? He's like, we're outnumbered. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, yeah, that's because like there's 2 of us and now there's 3 kids. And we're
man. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I totally get that. That's why my father had a belt. There was 5 of us. He's like, yeah, there's 4 boys and 1 girl. He was like, yeah, you guys are all getting beat up. And you know what? Good God, he probably could have done it a little bit more. Just a little bit. It might have helped out. Might have helped out a little bit.
Generational trauma. It's why the show exists. It's great.
You just said something that had me thinking, oh gosh. Oh, what?
Life is hard?
No. Oh yes, life is hard. Yeah. I mean, I would argue life probably is harder with children than without them. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
well, in time, right? So like if you don't have kids as you grow older, you have less and less of a support system, right? So like in the interim, sure, it's easier because, well, you can go on 2 vacations a year. That's awesome. Having kids, you can maybe go on 1 every other year. That sucks. But when you're old and you're like, I have to use a wheelchair everywhere and no one's going to push me. Yeah, that fucking sucks. You know,
I have a series of videos in which I respond to this thing you're bringing up though, right?
What the thing about like who's going to take care of you when you're old? By the way, having kids is not a guarantee. Like you can fall out with your parents, and then
that's if you're a bad parent. If you're a good parent, your kids are like, yeah, I love spending time with my family.
Well, there's also just kind of like the direction that life takes. Like my dad, I mean, he passed away a couple years ago, but when he was almost 80, he decided to move to West Palm Beach, Florida with his girlfriend. And me and my sister, and we do have a half brother who's wonderful, who we have a good relationship with, and his wife, who's lovely. They all live here on the West Coast. And my dad at almost 80 decided he wanted to live in West Palm Beach. So he literally went away from his entire support system by choice. Do you know what I'm saying? So like,
sure.
So that's like, his decision. That's his decision.
Happen. Yeah. My mom wants to live in Europe now, and it just turned 70. So I'm just like, I don't. So I'm kind of like, well, okay. I mean, I'm not moving to Europe, so I don't know.
No. It's yeah, and then like also too, and I really testify about this from like my generation. Like my parents weren't as physically active as they should have been, especially older in life. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, and the really good thing I'm seeing right now is a lot of people are like, no, you really do have to put your health first. You need to be stretching. You need to be physically active and stuff. And like we had one of my wife's aunts visit us, and she's 80, and she will outpace most 60-year-olds here. And I'm like, how are you doing this? She's like, honestly, just eat clean, get lots of sleep, and never stop moving. Like go for a walk, take the stairs, do things like that. And you're going, everyone should be doing that, right? Like those are like attributing that, because I see a lot of people, older people, who are like, they can't move, and there's no, like, if there's a reason, that's different, but like there's no reason. They're just, oh, you're out of shape and you let yourself go, and you're like, yeah, that's a problem. Your health is failing you because you're an idiot. It's a weird thing.
Things that were set in motion a long time ago. I know my friend who's a doctor is like, man, the American medical industry profits so much off of all of us being fucking morons. He's like, literally everything we treat. I mean, for the most part, it's like, if you would just eat right and exercise, we would stop making money as an industry.
Julia, so I used to be over 500 pounds, Julia, and I lost 250 pounds, which is like an entire person.
Hell yeah, that's two of me.
I know, right? Like, so I used to make the joke that I was a 6-midget Voltron because I was 500 pounds. People were like, that's accurate because I'm huge. And like, I used to have diabetes. I don't have diabetes. I'm slowly coming off other pills and stuff. And it's like, oh, I just had to be proactive in my life and make better choices. Like, hey, maybe have some fruit instead of half a cake. I still want the cake. Don't have it. It's just have some grapes. It's fine. It's not, it's yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a lot. There's a lot to be said about that. And like, also the people who are feeding their kids, cake every day. You're like, yeah, you shouldn't have kids either, dumbass. Like that's,
There's so, there is, Atlas sending me pictures of his doggy on the side. I see it. Sorry, we're sending dog pictures on the side.
That's fair.
That's okay.
There was that's another interesting thing. Some with the parent stuff, there's some things I feel like I'm not allowed to comment on because I'm not like part of the community. Basically bad parenting stuff. But it's also is kind of part of the conversation of the child-free thing, which is acknowledging all of, like, it's just like a field of landmines, just like going into parenting and all the mistakes that can be made, and just like being aware that I actually don't even want to risk it. What I was going to say is that there was this incredible doctor who I listened to an interview with him, and he was talking about the vaccine autism thing, right? Yeah. And basically he was saying that, like, he was saying, he was very accomplished, all these things, just like a smart, reasonable guy. He's a doctor. And he was saying the vaccine doesn't cause autism. He's like, we don't, really definitively know. He's like, but it is inflammation in the brain. And he was saying most American children are living with a base level of inflammation that is so much higher in other countries because of the shit food that they eat. And so for them, it can be like one more thing that causes a spike in inflammation, which I guess vaccines do. They cause like a temporary one, he said. It can push some people over the edge. So if you are like a relatively healthy person, inflammation is already low, you bounce back from it. But if inflammation was already high, like from diet or environment, it can push some people into autism that they're suspecting from what they're seeing. And all these parents got very upset, saying that they were being accused of giving their kids autism because of a diet. And then they got so angry at him and they tried to cancel him. And I was like, these conversations need to happen. We can't just recoil. Someone just brings up something that is like good for us to know, like bad diets cause inflammation. That's a great takeaway from that interview. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's
like a guilt thing.
It's a funny thing. So Jim says being a good dog parent is rewarding. It absolutely is rewarding. It is, yes, it's fine. But like it's funny because so when Atlas sent me a message about what your content was based on, I was like, explain it, and he sent me one of your TikToks. I'm like, oh yeah, that's just hilarious because. So I actually found this years ago. Was there's a British comedian who did this who got, like you said, a ridiculous amount of backlash because people were making these photo poses with their babies in bed and stuff like that. So she started doing poses with like giant bottles of wine in bed, and she's like, just snuggling up for a nap with my loved one, and and like walking around with like a magnum-sized bottle of champagne in a baby carriage. And I'm like, that sounds pretty funny. It is. People went nuts, and also too, like she's also very pretty and British, so you're like, yeah, you have no chance. You could be mad at her all you want. Her life is fantastic. So it was this weird thing where people were like, "You're a piece of crap," and she's like, "I don't care." And she did get pregnant and have children, and she's like, "Yeah, it's because it's a ridiculous thing that people are like, you have to have kids." You're like, nobody has to do anything. That's the whole point about being an adult. I can make a decision myself, right? And that's a reasonable thing. So yeah. It's funny that people would try kids be like, how dare you tell me information that could help my children, you piece of shit. And you're like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to, I have no idea about what causes autism or, I'm not a person with a strong opinion on the vaccine thing, but to me, I was shocked at the big backlash on that was everyone being like, don't tell us that we're feeding our kids wrong. You have no idea. I'm on this budget. I can't. And I was just like,
it's not you. It's like the food being available in the US and private equity firms like get mad at them. Don't get mad about them.
Or even if it is them, even if these parents are maybe making bad choices for their kid, like in life, if we receive information that tells us there's something that we could be doing better, the way you become a better person is like taking that in and responding, not like having the ego get in the way and be like, I do everything perfect. How dare you say I don't do everything perfect? Like whatever it is, whether it's with parenting or what you do for a living or what kind of spouse you are, we can't just like get mad at information. How's that helpful? Like,
that's the problem, right? Like you said, there's no it's people who are like, oh, I did awesome. And you're like, you walked half of the crowd, you loser. And they're like, no, they just didn't get it. You're like, I don't think that's what happened. That's, I feel like there's a perspective issue.
Or there always is something to learn. Or you know what? Like sometimes it is the crowd and there's actually still something you can learn. So what was it about the crowd? Did they need more crowd work from you? Did you do your research? Is it more of a conservative place and you were getting a little too gross and edgy with your stuff? Like, even when you say it was just the crowd, like if you approach everything with, I want to learn so that I can do a better job next time, that's how you're going to succeed. Whatever you're doing. You know what I mean?
Last night I was on a show where like a couple of the comedians very clearly were like, I want to record myself doing crowd work for TikTok. The venue we were in had the lights so bright that you can't see shit. So you're on stage and you're just like, hi, I think there's a person there. And like a couple of them really floundered under that. And obviously, like you might not have known that because like we went from walking into the green room and then you didn't realize it until you came out on stage and you're just like, fuck. So the sort of thing where like you can be well equipped for a situation that just doesn't happen. I always think of that Patton Oswalt bit where he's like, your parents loved you and they completely screwed up. Or there's a musical I like called Next to Normal. Have you heard of it, Julia?
No.
So it's about this woman with bipolar disorder. And there's a really great line from it where the daughter is singing about like why just be better, basically. And then she says, I was a child raising a child. And I think I think about that a lot, because even if my parents had me in their early 40s, there was a lot of stuff that they didn't like fix about themselves before having kids, and then now I'm dealing with that in therapy, and I'm sure there's a bunch of shit I'm gonna pass on to my kids, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but the whole idea is to lessen how much dog shit you're passing on, right? Like that's the whole advantage. It's not just about the financial
but you can't get rid of it all.
But listen, okay, so I do a whole set on the whole idea that's like, my dad migrated to Greece. My mom migrated from Greece. They met here. My dad came here with $5 and half a luggage full of clothing, and he made basically a business. We went on trips. We have a house in Florida, a house in Greece. We have all these things. Do you know how hard it is to follow that? Like, I'm just trying not to be a piece of shit at this point. And it's like, oh, and I fail most days. So whatever. And you're going like, things could be almost perfect. Great. And then life happens. And you know what? You got to figure that out too. It's not about anything other than, hey, do your best. Look, if you actively don't do your best for your kids, you're a piece of shit. If you try, like even someone who's an idiot can still try their hardest, that kid has a better chance at everything than they did of the person who didn't give a shit, right? It's
that boy. I don't know. That's a layered statement. I don't really. You know what I do understand what you mean in that, like, we'll start by breaking parents into two categories, knowing that there's like 1,000 micro ones within it. But there are the ones who like truly, really, really want the best for their kids. Sure. Being a good parent is important to them. Whether they're not, they know how to, they care. There are some people in this life who literally hate that they are parents. They don't want kids. It's very obvious. Maybe we have people that live near us where it's just clear that they come from a community where they were just like pressured, and it's just like what you do. And they just hate their kids and they hate their lives. And it's very obvious. And I feel so bad for those kids. They're going to have anxiety disorders one day. So yeah, the ones who care and want to be there, and the ones who don't even want to be there as parents. Yeah, those are two buckets start. But then you do, of course, have ones that care tremendously and they just don't have access to the internet, the resources or information.
And the internet. No, that's fine.
And the internet as well. Sorry, my computer's about to die. I'm going to plug it in. Absolutely. Or they also, or like a lot of people have like, I think that we're making like strides in terms of recognizing, I think emotional regulation is pretty much the foundation of good parenting. Yep. And I literally, that wasn't even like a concept that was discussed as recently as like 8 years ago. Yep. You know what I mean? So I think it's terrifying how many of us were raised by emotionally dysregulated parents. That causes a lot of problems. And that shows up in a lot of ways. It can be the symptom of certain like personality disorders or depression, anxiety, or it can be, it can just be on its own or whatever. You know what I mean? But
sure. You're keeping psychiatrists working. Thanks, Jim.
Jim says you're keeping psychiatrists working. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Well, so
as they should.
Well, like, and there's this weird thing where like I remember in the beginning of the pandemic when everyone was at home and like there was this wave of people who are like, I hate my house, I hate my family, I need to get out of here. You're like, that is all you, bro. Like that is a you problem. Those are your kids. That is your spouse. That is your home you chose to live in. Those are all you problems that you've decided to ignore, and now you're stuck there, right? So it's like I think that's absolutely right, is that the idea where people are realizing, oh, your physical health and your mental health are both hugely important to your well-being in the long run. You can ignore one for a period of time, but eventually it will bite you in the ass, right? And similarly, like you said, like people who are pressured to have kids, I don't agree with being pressured to have kids. Granted, it is, and that friend who has 3 kids, he was like, I look back because he had his third when he was just before the pandemic, right? So he was coming up on 41 or 42. And he was like, if I had my kids earlier on, I would have had more energy to do stuff with them. But having them now, I have the luxury of being able to provide a better life for them. So it's like, ugh. And I'm like, yeah, those are two very reasonable positions where like
it's either time and energy or wisdom and money. Pick one. Like
both are, and you're like, listen, both come with their own challenges, no question, right? But at the same time, to choose which one was better, like I will actively say this, where it's like my dad had his own business from when I was born, and I was his fifth kid. That was basically his sixth child. But because of that, it's 100% true, right?
I know, but it's funny. It's funny to imagine him going into the machine shop. Good morning, child. As he like switches on all the machines.
I'm going to plead the fifth. I never saw that happen. I never saw that. Right, I never saw him do any, I'll feed you some oil today. You'll be a good day. There's nothing like that. So, but like he sacrificed having more time for his kids to make that business possible, to give us all the privileges we had. Like I got a brand new car when I was graduating from high school, to the point where teachers were like, you little shit. And I'm like, well, maybe your dad doesn't love you. My dad loves me. So eat shit. And they were like, fucker. And I'm like, whatever, So it's like, there's right or wrong. You're like, hey, I had a goal. I did it. Was it the best choice? Maybe. Was it the worst choice? Probably not. But, it's you were involved. You wanted those things to happen. And other people are like, fuck them kids. And you're like, why do you have 6? I don't understand why you would say that. That's, it's very confusing.
You do have a lot of people who like literally cannot stand their kids, and they speak so disparagingly of them, and they have a bunch. And you're like, the math's not mathing. Nobody made you have 6 kids.
Yeah. No, it's this weird thing. And it's like, and like, I find it hilarious how people will very much protect that kind of knowledge of, you're like, hey, what works and what doesn't work. And then they're like, well, you have to just do what your family did. And you're like, no, none of that's necessary. You're like, nope. You're like, I had a weird thing where, so when I hit 15 and puberty happened, I became a giant. And my dad was like 50 something and 5'6", right? So like we were in our machine shop and I had pissed him off, which I did all the time. And he tried to smack me and I literally just palmed his entire chest. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work anymore. And it's like, and it was weird because I'm like, he just did whatever he knew how to discipline boys, right? Which in all honesty, we were terrors. So it's made complete sense. But that changed. And we then, from then on, had to have conversations and discussions and talks. And it was a different relationship that I had than all of my siblings had. And I'm like, do I think the way he had to raise me was better? I'm like, yeah, that's because he was afraid for his life because I was gigantic. Like, it's not like it was, but he was like, hey, I'm not going to abandon my son. I'm going to find a different way. And you're like, was it the right thing? I don't know. I'm pretty sure I should have got my ass kicked a couple times, but what are you going to do? It's weird.
It is. What's interesting is my dad had his first set of kids when he was like 19 years old with his first wife. And then he married my mom when in his 40s, like in his mid 40s, and then had me and my sister. And we did have such different upbringings, and we have very different worldviews than our much older. So he had a son and a daughter with his first wife. His daughter unfortunately passed away from cancer when she was 30. But our half brother is still around, and it is like, it's so clear that like he gave him a very different life than he gave us, and like we got dad 2.0, and everything that came with that, the financial resources, the wisdom, just like the time. He had time to give us because he had built a business that he owned now, that he had employees. He could work from home. He could not work certain days. We could travel for several weeks. And it really almost was a science experiment of like, how do kids come out differently from the same parent, depending on what phase of life the parent had them in.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it's crazy.
That happened with me too. Because
really?
My dad had my sister and I in his late 30s, early 40s. Then my parents got divorced. He got remarried. So he's in his 70s now, and his second set of kids are 14 and 12.
Happens.
15 and 13, sorry now. And it's very strange to me because like the oldest could be my students this year. So that's kind of a mindfuck. Novack, but whatever, put that to the side. And you're right, where like they're completely different. He had a daughter and a son, and then a daughter and a son, like in the same order too. And it's very interesting to see like the differences between me and my half brother and my sister and my half sister.
Right.
And for him, where he was like, I think for him, his like worldview as a parent was, am I a good provider? Good. My work here is done. And now where he has Parkinson's now. So like as his second set of kids were starting to like become conscious, he was on like the downswing of his career to his retirement. So now his role in the family is more of the like immediate like caretaker parent, and he's pretty good at it. I just like to know that he probably had it in him all along and he just chose not to.
He just didn't care about you, Atlas. That was it. That's it. That's all.
He did, but like his way of showing it was like to him, you know, this child of the 50s where his, you know, his dad was really successful. He was probably just taking notes from his dad. We're like, okay, bring some of the bacon, and that's all you got to do as the dad. And what my mom kept asking him for our entire childhoods was like, just you don't have to worry so much about like being rich. Just spend time with your family some more, you know?
I mean, I don't know. I like having a house in Greece. It's awesome. That's like,
I think it's.
I don't know. Like there's fair argument on both sides.
But maybe your dad is emotionally present, so maybe it didn't have to be one or the other. I don't know. Is that true for you?
Not really. He's very keep his cards close to the vest guy. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is the Don and Betty Draper era, right? And like, it's my dad actually even like vocalized, whatever that mentality once without even knowing it. Like, it's crazy when people don't realize that their perspective is so fucked up that they'll just casually say it to you, almost like a scene in a movie when someone tells
so fucking funny when
world. Because I had this boyfriend in my 20s who was like psychotic, like he was basically emotionally abusive, and he was crazy. And I broke up with him, and he started calling my dad, like telling my dad to talk me into getting back together with him. And like, he was a crazy guy. And like, I was like, called my dad, and I was crying, and I was like, oh my gosh, he won't leave me alone. He's harassing me. And my dad was like, well, maybe you should give him another chance. Cause his business is going really well. So he could provide a nice lifestyle for you. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, he just laid it out there. Like, well, it doesn't really matter if they're like emotionally fucked up. I mean, he has a good, successful business. So that's all you need in a husband. I'm like, oh man, you raised me and this is your mindset.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, you're kind of going, yeah, but also your life is going to be fucking horrible. That's not great. That's, you know, like, yeah, Jesus.
Glossing over.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Glossing over like decades of, you know, the feminist movement and stuff. I didn't learn that women weren't able to have a bank account without it being co-signed until 1974.
Yeah. 1974? Yeah, I've never known the exact
1974, year. Which is crazy to me. Which means that for a lot of these women, the whole like guys just not having to try very hard emotionally because they couldn't get a fucking bank account by themselves.
Yeah. Someone made a post about this recently, how they were saying it's so fascinating to see that we're at a point where women just simply do not choose men because they need them. They're only choosing them based on if they want to. And he was like, and it's entertaining to watch men just clearly not bring enough to the table under these circumstances.
To flounder, yes. Yes, and part of that whole child-free event is like trying to like, for guys, it's not just enough to bring home the bacon. See, case in point, my dad, you like to be emotionally there and to be there for your kid, fucking full circle, to be there for your kids, is part of what it is to be a person, and why it's so important in the first place.
I mean, and I think that's why people are I think that's why people are choosing to be child-free more, because like the standard of what it means to be a good parent is increasing. This thing with dads is a good example. It's no longer like, yeah, just buy all the houses in Greece. And if you want to, you can literally be an asshole or not even talk to your kids. But if you bought all the houses, you're a great dad. And now we're like, no, you have to buy the houses. And also you have to like talk to them about their feelings and about how they're developing emotionally. And then it's, you know, some people are like, I can't do all that.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, no, listen, I'm yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I fall on that, but it's like, I have no problem talking with kids, but it's like, okay, I'm not gonna, like, at the same time, like,
Hi, puppy.
I'm very much a believer in, like, hey, you have to have boundaries on everyone. Everyone needs a boundary. Those are reasonable things, and understanding they're like, yeah, we have to be emotionally supportive, but the more you coddle anyone, the worse that gets, right? And it's like there's it's such a hard thing to draw a line in the sand, because like you guys are saying, it was like you could have different ways of parenting, but the fact is that every kid is also different. So who the hell knows what's going to work and what's not? Like it's a very complex argument for sure, but at the same time, like, Jesus, it's definitely a mess. That I can definitely confirm that part.
Did you guys watch the show Adolescence on Netflix?
Not yet.
I heard of it, but I never watched it.
It's so good. You gotta watch it. So good. And it brings up another thing that terrifies me about the parenting thing is, like, I really believe, and I'm a product of this, that no matter who your parents were or what they are like, it could have very little bearing on the way you turn out.
Also true.
And like, I would always feel responsible. So in adolescence, it's like this kid, it's not a true story, but you could see it being true. They wanted to create a show that is about something happening all the time, which is this young kid kills someone in his class. And, they wanted to show that this family was like lovely, like, and it was impossible to understand why this happened. Like the parents were just like these great, emotionally regulated people with a good marriage and a good sense of humor. They were like always support. Like, you're just like, this didn't happen in the home. We don't know how this happened, but it's not from the home environment. And that
could be from like a shitty friend or
exactly.
Parenting is like guessing how to gamble the right way. That is.
I mean,
perfect.
Yeah. Also, Victoria brought this up. I thought Adolescence was inspired by. It was a real case, though. I think there was in the UK. Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I mean, when I was watching it, I was thinking, I mean, this may not be a true story, but this is a true story. Like these things have happened. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, because I'm just like, I know what my parents' like worldviews and values are very clearly, and I don't really hold any of them. Like I can tell you that I don't hold any of them. So well, how did that happen? You know what I mean? Like,
well, but you learn different. Like this is the thing too, is you're not growing up in the same world they grew up either, right? Things change.
Hence
things change on every level. Well, generations. Ta-da!
Yes.
Right. So it's like it's the same. Like, you can parent a child one way in one generation, parent another child the exact same way in a different generation, and it works perfectly or it fails horrifically. Like, both of those things are variable, and that's why it's like it you know what, I make this argument and I make fun of Atlas because I'm like, the idea of being a teacher in my mind is, no, you're an educator. You should be on the forefront of knowledge, constantly learning and evolving. Why? To bring, because as we've seen, is there are kids who go into med school, and by the time they graduate, half of the information they learned is obsolete. Why? Because things are moving so fast. And you're like, so being an educator is not about regurgitating information. It's actually about teaching people how to think, how to research, how to understand. And similarly too, parenting isn't about, oh, I gave you stuff, you should be fine. I fed you, you should be fine. No, it's about saying, hey, how are you better today than you were yesterday? What have you done to make yourself better? How are you growing? How are you investing in yourself every day in knowledge and abilities and skills so that you achieve the goals you want? And people are going, I'm not going to fucking do that. And you're like, okay, but then you shouldn't have kids, you fucking asshole. Like, it's
then you add the layer of don't just achieve them at any cost, which was very much like that's how my dad was. He was a very bad person. He was a criminal. And he had a secret family. I've talked about it.
Oh my God.
So, like, yeah, like he was just all like get money, get bitches. Like he just loved money and sex. That was literally who he was. He was successful, but not ethically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Teaching them ethics on top of that. We took this critical thinking class in high school that I realize now was like almost the only useful class we took where this teacher would have us do these experiments, like just little things. Like I remember one of them was like this war game we did where like we all got in groups and everybody represented a different country. And, you know, by the end, it was like whatever it was, you wanted to have more land or more resources or whatever. And that's who won. And we were like having to strategize or like negotiating with other countries. But inevitably things would come up where we would have to like fuck over or betray.
Were you guys playing Risk?
No.
I mean, possibly.
Okay, because it sounds like Risk.
No,
it actually sounds like it's on steroids, which I'm like, that sounds great. Yeah. That's a great class.
That's pretty cool.
He was introducing these dilemmas where we're like, in
Mm-hmm.
order to get the thing I said I was set out to get, I have to do something that I feel bad about. Am I willing to do that? Like, you know, and I know it's not so simple to us now, but as 16-year-olds, like that's cool shit to be teaching 16-year-olds, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's that whole idea where it's okay. Even Sasha says this stage of life is so different from how I grew up. Raising and keeping children happy and safe nowadays is like walking blind for the first time. I remember, like, I grew up when it was like, hey, the street lights are on. Do you know where your kids are? Right? Like, and that was like, and to the point where people were like, hey, if a car pulls up, don't get too close. They might kidnap you. And a car pulled up once when me and my siblings were playing street hockey or basketball or something. And I wouldn't go close to the car. And my brother's like, she ain't kidnapping you, bro. Don't worry about it. You can't fit through the window. And I'm like, that's rude. But yeah, it was accurate. So it's this weird thing where you're going, oh, but now like walking as an adult, you could get abducted. That's not a child issue. Like that's a, hey, you need to be aware of your surroundings. You need to, like, all those things factor in. And it's such a weird thing that I'm like, people just are I don't know. It's like you said, like that whole idea of not only having your goals, but also like, well, now if I want to get XYZ, what am I willing to give up to achieve that thing? Right? Like, am I willing to give up happiness, kindness, my morality? And like, that's a valid point, which honestly at 16, I'm surprised everyone didn't just light themselves on fire. That shit's crazy.
Are you going to lead a value-led life or a outcome-led? You know what I mean? Like how things are done or what you get done. The other thing I'll say, like I think in adolescence, the boy was like chatting with some other people on the internet that like maybe encouraged him. I don't know how to explain, but I mean, I've been talking about this in stand-up recently where I'm like, I think we can all agree anytime a shooting happens, I'm not going to talk about should we have guns, should we not have guns. What we should say is that men shouldn't have internet before they turn 25. That's what they should have.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Because they're just like, they're always part of some fucking weird little group online that was like, yeah, you should go do this thing. And
and it's standing in as community for what we used to have. So like I can go on my stupid urbanist rant again, but that is a kind of a big problem where like even if you teach your kids well, I recently learned that the reason that you think your parents are gross from adolescence through age 25 is some psychologists think that was an evolutionary thing.
It's chemical.
To prevent incest.
Yeah. You hate your parents during adolescence to make sure that you don't do horrible things. Yeah.
But you know what? Like, so speaking of just that people have strange impulses when they're young, like that's where the internet thing, I don't mean to sound like some crazy person. It's like kids shouldn't be online, but
they shouldn't.
Little kids are psychos, and that's fine. I was a psycho. We're all little psychos. We don't know why we would do it. We would throw knives at our siblings. We would be too aggressive with animals. Like little kids have these urges that they don't understand, and that's normal because they're basically still little animals. They're not even evolved into humans yet. But but the problem, like before the internet, all their interactions and conversations were observed, usually by an adult who could be like, okay, so like what that kid just said, we actually don't want to do that for this reason. But now they just go online and they talk to 20 other little psychos who are like, yeah, you should do that violent thing that you're thinking about doing. And the parents have no idea. Do you know what I'm saying? And they're not monitoring these conversations.
Hey, I just want to go on the record. You heard it here first, people. People should have licenses to give birth and be on the internet. Both of them definitely. You should pass at least a course. That's fine. It's
life is more dangerous and crazy nowadays. And back in the day, more people were willing to help if you were in trouble or if you called out for help. Nowadays, people can't even walk up to a child if it's crying because they're afraid to get involved. Yes, and at the same time, they take it a step further where like kids can't even like go play in the neighborhood because like the ring camera goes off and then the guy calls the cops or whatever because the kids are in the front yard. Go fuck yourself.
Victoria says tell them to Habsburgs. Yeah. Also fair. Can someone say moral? Yes, obviously. That's what we're talking about. So what does it say for only children? They don't have those urges to be violent to their siblings. Victoria, you're violent to your husband. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
My sister pushed me out of a tree house when we were little. What really happened was we were playing with squirt guns and she squirted me in the face. So I instinctually walked backwards off of the side of the tree house. Oh, no. So she didn't lay a finger on me, but she got the result she wanted.
I really threw a knife at my sister when I was little. Okay. And she's my friend today.
Yeah. We did ninja stars.
Where did you get ninja stars?
Hey, I'm not going to tell you my source, Atlas, okay? You're young. You got to figure that shit out, okay? That's what happens when you're cool. You get access to weapons.
No. Right? Let me rephrase. Where did you get the ninja stars? Because I want a ninja star. They sound cool.
Yeah. Just their ways.
Can I see your dog a little closer before we go, by the way?
Yes. This is Pumpkin. Pumpkin is a Chiweenie.
She looks like a little baby deer or something.
A little bit, yeah. She's got the Chihuahua face, but she's long like a dachshund. And then you can't really see it there. See that little splotch?
Oh yeah.
So that's where the name comes from because it looks like the cream on a pumpkin spice latte.
That's cute.
That's one way to do it. Hey, yeah. Sasha knew one of my siblings. Yeah, and she laughed because that's fair. We definitely would throw knives at each other. Yeah, absolutely. We had throwing darts and all sorts of stuff. We were not good kids, but nobody's
a good kid.
See, that's that. Listen, I don't think I am a firm believer that while you should have access to technology, you should not have access to online communities until you're an adult because that is a shit show. That is the Thunderdome, and like you said, kids are monsters. I remember being on the internet Yahoo chats. Jesus Christ! If that ever comes out, I have some apologizing to do. The shit I did.
You didn't even need the internet. That was like a fucking thing in Heathers, right?
it was like, and also to we've talked about this before. Is the whole idea is that back in the day, if you were the idiot, all your friends would be like, "Hey, dummy, you're an idiot. Just stop talking. We'll explain it to you." And you're like, I was dumb. But now you're like, I'm an idiot. I'm going to find other idiots online. And now it's a whole group of idiots who are like, did you know the earth was flat? And you're like, Jesus Christ, please stop.
It's so ironic because there's a good group of students who have a lack of curiosity. Yes. And it's like, guys, just you don't know what a word means. Look it up.
Also, the thing about the flat earther or crazy groups to me, Sebastian Maniscalco has a joke I love, and he was talking about, he was like, the internet has just made crazy people think what they do is normal. He was like, it used to be in the 60s, if you were an adult that liked to dress up like a baby and pretend you were a baby, you kept that shit to yourself. He's like, now there's a convention at the Hilton for adults that like to dress like babies.
There is?
They all find each other online.
Yes,
well,
trust me.
I guess there is for anything.
I mean, that's how it's going.
Not to kink shame, but he is making a point in the sense that there was more internal self-policing within communities.
Yeah.
Of where you would get a sampling of a lot of opinions of, is this normal, this thing I'm into, or is this healthy or bad or good? And now it's well, I'll just go find a bunch of people online that affirm everything I do. If I want to, I can always find that group of people,
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. All right.
So,
shall we?
Julia, thank you so much for coming on Generation Dan.
Thanks for having me.
Where can people find and follow you and all that good stuff?
So I'm on Instagram at Julia Austin Was Taken, and I'm also on TikTok. But what is my TikTok handle? Is a great question.
It'll be in the description too. Don't worry.
We'll find it. It's just at JAUSTIN327. Very creative. I should probably change that. That's where I make almost all my child-free content is on TikTok.
Nice. You can find us at Generation Dan wherever fine social medias are found. You can also follow me at Atlas Novack wherever fine social medias are found, including TikTok and Instagram. I mostly just do sketches about what it is to be a teacher. There's a lot of musical theater stuff in there because that's my new obsession for the last 5 years or so. And you can also check out my other show, Nexus at Night, which is about the trading card game Card Fight Vanguard. If that's not your thing, go fuck yourself. That's every Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific. How about you, Dino?
I'm Dino the Genetic Marvel. I do all sorts of stuff. Yeah, follow me. Don't follow me. Mostly it's cooking and just walking around seeing weird shit. The other day I saw an entire Astro van that was covered in duct tape. It was wild. So yeah, follow me everywhere. I just tell about my life and things that I do. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everyone. And I'll be back probably tomorrow. See ya.
See you next time. Bye.